Good evening and welcome to Newsbite. I'm Anne Clark and making the headlines today. Atlantic Star lands on St. Helena. ESH holds open day at Bertrand's Cottage. St. Paul's Primary School hold a themed reading day, and we have your weekly sport updates. But first, we have a special announcement from the St. Helena government.
This is a public information announcement from Her Excellency Governor Lisa Phillips.
As exceptionally dry weather continues, with no significant rainfall forecast over the coming weeks, domestic water levels on St. Helena have reached dangerously low levels, with island reservoirs gradually emptying. Therefore, I would like to ask St. Helena businesses and residents to exercise great care and restraint when using water. With EXCO, I held an emergency meeting last week to review the situation. We heard from St. Helena's multi-agency group, which is responsible for monitoring and managing risks that can affect the safety of the community and the private sector, and is called the St. Helena Resilience Forum. It is comprised of senior officers from the emergency services, SHG, EXCO, Connect and Shore.
If consumption continues at the current level or increases, we'll have to place further restrictions on people's use of water. This could result in consumers only being allowed a certain volume of water each day. We don't want to reach this stage, but it is becoming a serious possibility if we do not limit our usage to essential needs only. An island-wide shortage affects everyone, and we must all do our part. Connect is doing all it can to sustain available water and gather and transfer water where possible. But this will not solve the main problem, which is lack of rain. The situation is being taken very seriously by the St. Helena Resilience Forum, which will keep the public informed through daily radio rainfall and consumption data, together with advice on how to limit your consumption.
Rainfall data since 2001, collected from the Met Office site in Bottom Woods, highlights a serious and significant drop in our monthly rain. The figures show that rainfall this year has been significantly lower than even during the drought in 2013. With approximately only 15 millimeters of rainfall received so far this October, it is likely that the problem will continue in the short to medium term.
With the festive season approaching and more people arriving on the island, there will be an even higher demand for water. So it's even more important that we reduce our consumption. I would like to remind St. Helena businesses and residents that this is an island-wide shortage, and it's in everyone's interest to work together to manage the situation. Thank you.
Friday, the 21st of October, marked another historic event in the short time that St. Helena Airport has been operational. Atlantic Star landed a Tronos Avro RJ100 on runway 20. The aircraft was en route to Chile and was flown by 2 Faroe Island pilots. The crew and non-commercial passengers spent the night on the island and left to continue their journey to South America via Ascension at around 2:15 p.m. the following day. Stuart George has more on this story.
After 6 months of bad international press branding St. Helena Airport unusable, St. Helenians have now had their hopes raised. Atlantic Star's chief executive Richard Brown has said that the company may be capable of providing scheduled commercial flights between St. Helena and Ascension as soon as spring 2017. On Friday the 21st of October, crowds gathered in and around the airport, eagerly awaiting for Atlantic Star to land an Avro RJ100 aircraft. This is the largest plane to land on the runway since Comair's Boeing 737-800 back in April of this year. Piloted by 2 Faroe Island pilots, the plane came into sight a little after 3:45 p.m. and touched down on runway 02, characterised as having a tailwind, with seemingly no trouble at all. The majority of the passengers disembarked the aircraft before it set off again, this time to attempt a landing on runway 20, which suffers from wind shear. Again, the Faroe Island pilots pulled it off with very little trouble, landing with plenty of runway to spare. Later that evening, Atlantic Star's Richard Brown held a question and answer session at the Consular Hotel, which was well attended. He explained a bit more about the company's plans for the future.
Why have we brought the RJ down here? Well, the reason is because we think right now for landing on runway 02, it's the right aeroplane for the job. And very fortunately for us, we've got Mr. Adrian Nosquith from Tronos Leasing, who happens to have an RJ that we can use. The one that we've got here today is on a delivery flight down to South America, but luckily for us, Adrian has two more up his sleeve that potentially we could use maybe as early as next spring to get some air services started. On the first one, we'd probably just be going to Ascension Island and also doing some medevac stuff. So we'd have the aircraft here on the island all the time, 24/7, with crew, maintenance facility here, and with an engineer and all that good stuff. But the second airplane, we could potentially put some extra tanks in it, such that we can do flights on to Walvis, to Windhoek, to Cape Town, to Joburg, to Accra. All the places that potentially, first of all, people might want to come and visit this great place, and also places that you might choose to use as a way of connecting to anywhere in the world that you might happen to want to go. So that's the plan. That is kind of where we are at the moment. We obviously, for those of you at the airport, you saw that we did successful approach onto runway 02, and then we actually took off again on 20, did a circuit and landed on 20 as well. Both of those landings were good. Both of the approaches were fine. It wasn't a particularly windy day today. There was a bit of wind around, and obviously for runway 20, potentially we would need to get a lot more data before we would want to use that commercially. But we see no reason not to potentially start operations using runway 02 as soon as we get the green light, really. So. SHG have to have a process. That's part of being a grown-up government. That's what they have to do. We're going to engage with them in that. They've been really helpful in putting this flight on, as have DFID. And I think it's important that we do acknowledge that. They are trying to work really hard to a solution, but they need more data in terms of the wind effects before they can really start to put a solution together. But we're working with them on that. As you can see, we're pretty serious about what it is that we're doing.
On Thursday, Enterprise St. Helena held an open day at Bertrand's cottage to mark the bicentenary of the Bertrand family moving into the cottage on the 20th of October 1816. The open day began with speeches from Director of Policy Development and Social Enterprise Rob Midwinter, ESH Board Member Anthony Thomas, and ESH Trainer and Assessor Mike Harper.
Your Excellency the Governor, honourable members, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. A year ago, as part of the Napoleonic Bicentenary commemorations, Enterprise St. Helena held a groundbreaking ceremony here at Bertrand's cottage and handed the keys over to our project managers, ProArc, and the main contractor, Isaac Construction. It is therefore fitting that a year later, exactly 200 years since the Bertrand family moved into this cottage, we warmly invite you to view the progress that has been made. and to see at first hand the transformation that has taken place.
After the speeches, visitors were given tours around the house, showing the restaurant, upscaling kitchen, the dining area and the bedrooms. They were also shown the progress to date at the Enterprise Park and were able to look at some finished units. Bertrand's Cottage is planned to be opened officially in early December. A themed reading day was held at St. Paul's Primary School on the 19th of October to spread the love of reading throughout St. Paul's School and to help children understand the importance of reading.
I am Leon and I'm reading the book The Hunting of Uncle Ron. Chapter 1, Spooky. Dia was staring out of the window. We had new people moving in next door and there was a girl. She looked amazing in a bubble hat and stripy socks, and she looked nice as well. Then I saw a taxi stop outside our gate and Uncle Ron got out.
I'm Joshua and I'm going to read Open a Book by Jane Basquiat. Open a book and you will find people and places of every kind. Open a book and you can be anything that you want to be. Open a book and you can share wondrous world that you find in there. Open a book and I will too. You read to me and I read to you.
It provided the children with fun activities all centered around reading. The activities included problem solving, where children were asked to read and encouraged to understand mathematical problems. They also researched information about reading via the internet and were asked to brainstorm ideas about why they should read. A competition was also run where they could become the most outstanding reading champion. To become a reading champion, the children had to read 4 times a week at home. One child was chosen from each class to receive this award. Reading champions selected were Cordell Coleman, Marley Thomas Lawrence, Zach Francis, Asia John Bigley, Ty Young, Alea Pitchley and Jordana Peters. Now sport. The district football competition continued on Sunday with 2 games being played. In the first game, St. Paul's beat Longwood by 3-1. Goal scorers for St. Paul's were Mikey Williams and Chris Owen, and for Longwood, Ashley Peters. The second game saw Jamestown take on Halftree Hollow, with Jason George scoring the only goal of the match. Final score, Jamestown 1, Halftree Hollow 0. In golf, the monthly medal was sponsored by the O'Keefe family. The winner was Gavin Crowey with a net 65. Gavin will now play off a handicap of 13. In second place was Jeffrey Foxy Stevens with a net 67. In third place was Lawrence Butters with a par round of 68. Joan Thomas was fourth on 70, and in fifth place, and also on 70, was Norman Thomas. Well, that's it for another edition of Newsbite. Be sure to tune in again next week. I'm Anne Clark and thank you all for watching.